From the tranquility of rural life to the hallowed halls of justice, Anthony Thomas Aquinas Carmona has now been elevated to the position of head of state as the country's 5th president.
As a judge of the High Court, I feel honored to be so bestowed with this responsibility. I have to thank the Electoral College. I have to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, who is engaged in regional duty at Haiti. I have to thank the opposition leader, Mr. Keith Rowley, for his kind sentiments that he has expressed publicly. In fact, the various members of Parliament who, in my view, have kindly expressed their support for my stewardship as President of this beloved Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
The position of head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces is now filled by a remarkable man, highly distinguished in his academic and legal careers, possessing a sharp intellect and unquestionable integrity, loyal, patriotic, and a man of the people. A child of this rich Trinidad and Tobago soil, President Carmona was born on March the 7th, 1953 in the village of Los Charo, Lower Palo Seco, surrounded by a loving family and strong community.
Hi. I know most of you know our elected president as TC, but I don't call him TC. I know him as Tony, and that's what I know. We grew up together. I know his grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Dickey. They helped grow me up too. We all from Bennett Village. Now TC, as you all know him, I will say TC, for me is Tony. Living in Fyterbad, yes, but most of his time was spent with his grandparents. And that's how we are friends, because both of us, we end up forming there.
Barbara Carmona has always been a stay-at-home mother, and her eyes glow with pride when she talks about President Carmona and his first moments in the world among their close-knit family of traditional Spanish heritage.
When the child born, and they start to parent in the house, you know, like if it's, well, they're happy, you know, the Spanish, and they sing Spanish tune, like if it's Christmas time, and they parent him and play music. After the children came from school, when they reach home, my sisters and brother, they hear, well, Barbara have a baby boy, and it's the first grandchild, so they all excited, want to see this child. Well, we live as maybe about 2 miles, and they run from where they were living straight back to me, where I was living. And when they came, they're all excited and they want to see this baby. So Manga, being a Spanish, she say, they can't see the baby, dew is falling, and it's not good for the baby. So poor thing, they're so disappointed, you know. They want to see this nephew, you know. And then my mother said, well, you stay quiet, she will soon leave and all, you'll see the baby. So when she left, they came in. By then, Ma said, well, the Jew fall off, you know, these old people, how they think with this Jew and too late to see baby. And they come in, they're so excited. Oh, they want to hold the baby. So he was, what I must say, spoiled from birth. Everybody want to hold him because it's the first grandchild on both sides, his side and my side.
From early, relatives say President Carmona displayed signs of the intellectual prowess and strength of character he would become known for.
One day, I'm going on the road and, you know, our old lady stopped by, you know, she stopped me, she said, Barbara, well, they know me because I grew up in the village. So Barbara? I say, yes. She said, well, you know, this son of yours, he will either be a doctor or a lawyer, you know. I say, so? She say, yes, you see how he's watching me? He's intelligent, you know, he's intelligent, but he cannot speak yet, eh? But he look at the lady, And I seen him how he watching me because he had big eyes, you know, he watch her, you know.
Tony's life has always been that of a leader. He was always in front. He had a love not only for reading, but he had a love to be, you know, like a teacher, to tell people when they go wrong what they should do right. And this was one of the things I admired in him, that he was always in front as a leader. He did not encourage wrongdoings, and if something went wrong, he put it right.
It was inevitable that those closest to him would conclude he was marked for great things and often would tell him so. President Carmona's childhood was filled with trips to a family in the capital, Port of Spain, considered a treat in those days. An aunt who lived in Belmont would take the president, his siblings, and Mrs. Carmona to the Emperor Valley Zoo, where they would also view the nearby president's house.
I said, we have to get in that house and drink some champagne. I said, yeah, we can't pass by. I said, Tony, you have to be president. And I told him that before it even happened. It had a calling program, and I tell my husband, they wanted to know, well, who will be president, you know? Nominate a name. So I tell my husband, I say, well, Dennis, I go and nominate Tony, you know. He said, no, don't do that. I say, why? I want my son to be president, and the man is asking, nominate somebody, so I am going to do it.
This driving ambition was supported by a loving home and parents who made sacrifices to give the children the best life and education they could afford. Father Dennis Carmona was an employee of Petrotrin and describes a bookish house where the president and his siblings forego the boisterous pursuits of young children in favor of reading from the large collection he acquired for them.
I saw people, you know, people pass from time to time selling books and things. At one time, a gentleman passed, he was selling the Americana Encyclopedia. It's the American Encyclopedia, a series of books and some well-known books on literature and things. I bought all. And I got all of them to have a flair for reading. All of them had liked reading. Sometimes you enter the home, you don't know if you have children there, the place is quiet. But if you come inside, you will see every man there in a book, reading something.
This upbringing produced a teacher, a doctor, an engineer, and 2 lawyers. But it wasn't always easy.
So all the sacrifices we make, it paid off.
It was tough. It was not an easy one.
At the
Because-
time, we had 3 of them in university.
And it was tough.
3, and it was hard. I never make them know how hard it was because I didn't want them to drop out from
Drop out.
school. All the love we could have given to those children, we gave it. Both of us, Dennis and I. All the love, all the care. If you see them come and we see them sad when they come down, they come from school, the thing was sad today. Never mind that, tomorrow it will be easy, you know, you'll make it, you'll make it. We always encourage them.
But my advice to parents, you should not at any time create any gulf between yourself and your children.
Don't care how bad.
No matter how bad or wayward they may be.
Stick with them.
Dialogue is the answer. Corporal punishment is no.
It's no, yeah.
You keep your children close to you, if they confide in you and you in them, and as time goes on, all problems will be solved. But if you keep them far from you, they might go in other areas for advice, and they will get the wrong advice, and then they start going astray.
The couple, married for 62 years, gave us the formula for their successful family. Mr. and Mrs. Carmona said corporal punishment was never used at their home, and they encouraged parents to keep the lines of communication open between themselves and their children. Other early influences include President Carmona's uncle, Clement Dickey, fondly referred to as Uncle Bertie. Himself merely a child during President Carmona's youth, the two would often find themselves playing together, He remembers excursions from the family home to the nearby Palo Seco beach where they would frolic for hours. Mr. Dickey remembers a helpful boy whom no one had anything bad to say about.
He was a friendly fellow. Anywhere he go, people had liked him. And do not pass anybody like that. They ask him things, and he give a lot of advice to people, especially Faisal. He'll walk up the road, and fellas flock around him. If they had a problem, and ask him, and he'll tell them what to do.
His willingness to help just about anyone in difficulty, Mr. Dickey speculates, may have been honed by the family's deeply religious outlook. The Carmonas are committed Roman Catholics, with one of the president's aunts even taking the veil as a Carmelite in her dedication to the faith. Uncle Bertie says this aunt was also an influential figure in President Carmona's early years, nurturing his lifelong altruism and objectivity. Parish priest at La Divina Pastora Roman Catholic Church, Father Martin Sergiu, has spoken to the president during his visits to the well-known shrine there.
The way he was brought up, the values he chose, because one can be brought up in a certain way but not necessarily live by those values. So from what I'm able to see casually over the years, I think he has lived by those values. He has always been seen as a devout Catholic and a church-going man. You would notice recently in the newspaper he saw the blessing of his parish priest, Father Rochard, as he assumes office as President of the Republic.
Throughout his life, the president has never wandered from ties to faith, charity, community, and especially family.
He visits his family regular. He also bring down the children, but he mostly stay by his mother-in-law when he come down. But bring his children over by his mother and go by his aunt and his uncle over there. He has an uncle over there, and he also have 2 aunts, right, and cousins. So you go and talk, and give them advice. Give people advice. They ask him things, and give a lot of advice to people.
When he was the judge in Sam, he would call me and say, Raman, what you doing? He don't call me uncle, so. Raman, what you doing? I say nothing. Say, come in the courthouse and hear a case. And I would go and sit down, we would go and have lunch and talk and laugh, and that's it.
These were the beginnings that would nurture the roots of the sincerity, fairness, objectivity, compassion, and justice that have come to define the essence of President Carmona's character, qualities that would only be augmented by his time at school. The president attended the Santa Flora Government Primary School. He's actively involved with its alumni association headed by Genevieve Thompson Martin, who was in President Carmona's common interest class and who maintains the president has always been the same TC she knew years ago.
We were so elated when we heard that Thomas, as we fondly call him, TC Carmona, was elected or nominated as president. When that happened, I felt that our country can benefit tremendously from that kind of personality as a president. He's so down to earth, he's so humble. You know, we sat in the same class for the common entrance, and he was just a normal everyday student, and he never changed, you know. We would invite him. We have formed this association for about 2 years now, and we invited him and he came, and he was business as usual. We say TC, he said Jenny.
Genevieve, who says she's followed the president's career over the years, is in charge of organizing a reunion and family day to mark the school's 60th anniversary, and the president is the guest of honor. He is given a hero's welcome when he arrives and is mobbed by young and old alike, a sign of the enduring popularity in this community of this son of the soil who has attained the country's highest office.
It's indeed a pleasure, as not only as president of the Ex-Pupils Association, but as a friend, as a classmate. It is indeed a pleasure. I know the country is in good hands, because I can boast of your character. I've followed your career and I recognize nothing changed. all the values that we got from people like Mr. Robinson. I know that I can see that you continue to do us proud, and I know God will continue to bless you because the heart is in the right place. I feel proud to belong to Trinidad and Tobago and to belong to Santa Flora Government School. And I present this plaque on behalf of the Ex-Teachers Association. Love you. God bless you.
I really feel a deep sense of gratitude to every one of you all here. I'm seeing old friends. I'm seeing old classmates from Santa Flora Government Primary School. And of course, I'm seeing many people from Dali Village. Dali Village. It is with a really deep sense of affection and love that that basically I'm here today.
The Santa Flora Government Primary School is unassuming. Visitors to the tiny school that produced a president are greeted by the school motto at the front. President Carmona entered the school in 1960. As in his day, the school continues its reputation of attaining excellence in academic and other spheres. Standard 5 teacher Michelle Abdul knows President Carmona personally, having lived in his eventual hometown of Faizabad. She speaks about his contributions to the success of school events and also describes the school ethos in which the president was immersed.
Strive to excel, and we try to build in our students that element of prestige.
Long-standing personal friend of President Carmona, Russell Thompson, attended Santa Flora Government with him and has known him since he was 5 years old.
I always remember him as a very studious sort of guy, very bright guy, if I would say so myself, and very Catholic. Very grounded person and, humble, decent parents. We always knew Tony would have been something special. From school days, he was a fun-loving fella, but a very focused person. He would be the one, he was never in fights, but he would settle disputes among friends. He would always be a reasonable voice, a voice of reason, whenever there are disputes around, right? Even at primary school.
In fact, most who encountered the president in those years speak about his leadership in academics and general deportment throughout his primary school years, aiming for nothing but the very best. And now that he has earned the post of president, he serves as a source of pride and inspiration to his former schoolmates, children now attending the school, and the community at large.
This has brought the villagers even closer, because all the conversation you hear is, we have a new president, Mr. Carmona. We are very much elated about this, and we hope that the villagers coming together would continue to live in harmony, because Mr. Carmona has brought us even closer.
Although a small school in rural South Trinidad, we have been doing our part to put ourselves on the map. And with the President, Anthony Carmona, His Excellency, coming from this school, I think it's an inspiration to all our students and a motivation that they too can achieve great heights.
I know that the appointment has indeed impacted in a positive way on the young people in this district, because they are boasting of having a president in particular from Santa Flora Government School and in the wider community. People are so proud, the young people. I can only see them wanting to emulate TC, the president, because they have, it has indeed impacted on those people. Because, I have had the experience to walk into the Santa Flora Government School and interacted with the young people who are so pleased to identify and so happy to say that, do you know that the president came to our school? We are saying to people that if we can make it, you can make it as well. I can see us really, his appointment having a positive impact on young people in general. Because if you observe him over the bench, and we have done that, you know, we been like justice and all that, he would scold young people and he would encourage them. Whenever he has to like sentence somebody, they would be sure that they understand why he's doing what he's doing, and it's always for their benefit.
The day that he was elected, it became a proud moment for the people of St. Patrick to know that one of the guys from the south and one of the guys from the soil down here is the elected president of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very proud of this gentleman. A humble soul. Like his parents, I know they are indeed proud of their son. They should be. They grew him up well. I've been to TC home and I've seen them. Their parents know me well. Their uncles, their aunts, name it, they grew us up. So this is not just, you know, someone just talking like that. This is a real friend of TC, as you all know him. And, you know, the name that he acquired, I believe that this is something God sent. Like this was meant for him. And this is my belief. That is why today I want to say to the president, sir, the people of St. Patrick is indeed proud of your achievement. The children of Santa Flora Government School, where you got your, at least began your education, is very proud of you. And sir, I'm asking you today, sir, I know that you will find yourself sometimes having to make decisions. Do it to the best of your ability. The name alone that you have means a lot. That person is a philosopher. And you today is carry on that name. That is why I say this was meant for you.
The current Standard 5 class is about to sit the secondary assessment examination. They now certainly dream big, knowing that it was here a president started on his path to greatness. President Carmona, too, would sit an exam, then what was then known as the Common Entrance to pass for Presentation College in San Fernando in 1965. Presentation College has contributed several leading figures in our nation's history. The man who would one day become president spent his formative years at the school sharpening not only his considerable intellectual capabilities, but also showing a burgeoning artistic side. Past pupil and current teacher at the school, Ramesh Bharat, was close to President Carmona and remembers his dedication to his academics.
Having done subjects like Latin and Spanish, one can understand where he would get his analytical mind. In sixth form on the steps there, he can go on to quote Shakespeare, quote at length, right? And discuss Wordsworth and Shelley. I mean, he made the subject so meaningful, right? For him, it was just more than just passing the exam in the subject. It really meant something to him.
But the president also made time for extracurricular activities.
Justice Carmona was involved in almost all of these activities. Also very devout Catholic, altar boy, acolyte, as you might say.
He was also a school prefect, even then a judge among his peers, and foreshadowing his days on the bench, President Carmona was popular and well liked because of his fairness and relative leniency. President Carmona was also an avid chess player and a member of the Legion of Mary, a charitable group which focuses its efforts on the poor and downtrodden. Bharat says President Carmona's innate sense of fair play was honed by the school's emphasis on an educational foundation of religious knowledge and ethics.
You could miss your economics class, you could miss your physics class as the case, but do not miss your RK or ethics class. Values education, character building is what definitely contributes to your overall all-round development. And this school emphasized that till this day. Every morning in that assembly, for 7 years, principal after principal, right down to Mr. Jaigaran Singh, will take an excerpt from the Bible, right, and make it applicable to your daily life, whatever that may be, in some leadership role or something, right? After 7 years, something must rub off on you.
He throws his mind back to their final days at the college in the early 1970s. He remembers the speech given on prize-giving day, and then Principal Brother Anselm assuring them that they were prepared for the harsh challenges of the world. Out of this crucible would be born a man with a heightened interest in social justice, as well as a deep and abiding sense of morality, a man destined to become president. President Carmona, now a young man, would head to the University of the West Indies, Mona, as well as the Cave Hill campus. In the years 1973 to 1981, he would graduate from both campuses with honors degrees in English and political science and law. He would then proceed to the Hugh Wooding Law School, and on graduating, his career has been marked by excellence and achievement. President Carmona first served in the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Longtime friend Russell Thompson says the president was well aware that he could have earned more money in private practice. However, he believed he could be of more service in the prosecution ranks.
And one of the things that he said to me really stand out with me up to today, you know, and he said he would prefer to stay in the DPP where he can use his office to make an innocent man walk free than to go into private practice and defend a criminal that he's sure is guilty and get him off on a technicality. And I think that is the person, you know, that I remember the most as a quote that will stay with me for the rest of my life. You know, and maybe that's the reason I didn't do law myself, because I may have run after the dollar and defended people who were actually guilty and looked for it. But I remember that most about him. And I think something like that is what will make him be a good president. You know, he looked at the fact that in his office he can set an innocent man free, you know, because he would know, but at the same time he couldn't see himself going after money and using loopholes in the law to get, to let a guilty man walk free. And I think, you know, that quality is what I admire a lot about him in our adult days. Maybe what we should, you know, being the president, now when he first became a judge, you know, like most things, the relationship with most of his peers would have changed. You know, we couldn't hang out the way we would have hung out before. In the very early stages, you know, being a judge, he would be under a lot more scrutiny. So we understood that, and the guys all stayed their distance. We would still meet socially, but, you know, in a more controlled way, right? And we respected him as a judge, you know, even though he would be a friend, but when he's wrong, you know that is Justice Carmona, regardless of the fact that he's TC or Tony or whatever we would call him at the time. You know, and most of the fellas, or almost all the fellas, would respect him as Justice Carmona. So your personal relationship never interfered with the respect that a judge is due. You know, and I believe the same thing would happen now as he is the President of the Republic. We will not expect, you know, that because he knows us that, you know, we will want to encroach and, you know, on his space. You know, he's the President of the Republic, which is the highest office in the land, and we all will respect that. You know, we would still see him from time to time, I'm sure, because Faizabad being his home, he visits his parents quite regularly, so we'd all see him.
He was appointed senior counsel in 2002 and a High Court judge in 2004. He also acted as Director of Public Prosecutions in 1999. Senior counsel Dana Sitahal became acquainted with the president while they worked together as prosecutors and talks about their relationship and his easy manner during their days as young lawyers in the office of the Director of Public Prosecution.
He was a different character then. He was outgoing, affable, always jovial, not the serious mien of a prosecutor would you expect. And he always had the anecdotes and he would sort of laugh, you know, with the staff and everybody, that sort of thing. Not giggle really, I just use a giggle, but it was all part and parcel of His Excellency's affable character, down to earth sort of personality. He had then, it was exhibited as a prosecutor and his interaction as well with people in the office.
The senior counsel believes His Excellency's amiable nature gives him an innate sense of fairness. Ms. Sitahal reminisces about being before President Carmona during his time as a judge and getting the sense that he was always diligent about making the right decisions for everyone involved.
He was always very polite to accuse people wherever you came from, you know, the worst person, the best. So lawyers felt, I'm sure that they had a good hearing, fair hearing, and a polite hearing. That careful consideration of matters and issues, I am sure he will bring to his role as President of this Republic.
She also sees President Carmona using his platform as the country's head of state to continue his advocacy for social justice and the rights of the less fortunate.
He, having shown himself as a judge to be a person who is concerned with social issues, I don't know if you recall, but he has talked about URP, he has talked about crime, he has talked about the young men here and what can be done, different things he has voiced in the limited fashion that you get to do as a judge.
But the president demonstrates his love of the people in other ways. Randy Jeffers, another longtime friend, says the president waded into cultural waters during his days as a university student in an area where few professionals would be found.
I don't know how many of you know that Anthony Carmona was at one time an up-and-coming calypsonian. In those days, he used to dress in Castro-type outfits, greens, green cap and so on, and he used to sing, he used to compose his own songs, his own calypsos, and he even entered the calypso semi-finals one year in Skinner Park, and his sobriquet was the Prophet of Sisyphus.
The refusal to act like what society believed a lawyer should be like earned him admirers for his approachability and what became known as his commoner's touch. Current principal of the Presentation College, Errol Jaikaransi.
The humility that the man shows is amazing. He would be known to ride the buses into Port of Spain rather than go with his chauffeur-driven car. He would ride on the buses, take the water taxi, stand in Faizabad Junction at late hours waiting for a taxi to stop for him while he got home to visit his parents. So that humility was always there. There are other things that you can speak about. The boys of his era always spoke about him being a holy man, a holy young man. Some people thought he would become a priest at some time. But those are the stories that abound.
Recently, I had a short conversation with TC at a gas station early one morning in Edward Street. And we were in the company of Dinanath Ramnarayan. And Dinanath said to him, as a judge, how come you are different? You know, on a weekend, you're all over the place in your short pants and your cap on your head and so on, and no security around you and so on. How come you're different from some of the other people we know? And he made a statement which epitomizes who the man is. He said, the difference is that I am a judge. I'm a man, he said, who happens to be a judge. And that sums up who Tony Carmona is.
President Carmona would remain a man of the people even as he scaled the heights of the legal profession. And those closest to him do not expect him to lose his ability to relate to the ordinary man, even as he becomes this country's first citizen.
So I think he's a very socially minded, sensitive person, and I think one could see a different kind of trust from the presidency. So while he's an attorney, I think he's going to do a few things to make us aware of the disparity between the strong and the weak, and how do we respond as a caring society.
Even though they say that the office of president is not that of an executive presidency, I still hope that by his choice, by his stature, by the way he says things, his concerns will be radiated so that they will be taken seriously by the Prime Minister, the opposition, and influential members in society at large.
Now that he has a different role, and whether it's in his capacity to warn, because His Excellency, the President of the Republic, even though his powers are limited, he can advise, he can warn the government of the day, and also in his different throne speeches, as it were, he can make his statements. He can, in his appointments, for example, in the Elections and Boundaries Commission and those boards where he makes the appointment, although after consultation, in his appointment with the Chief Justice, all of these matters, he will, I'm sure, show that careful consideration that he has done in the past, and that is part of his character.
I think he would be the best president we'll ever have. You know, I think he'll be a hard act to follow. He's a very honest man, very sensible, and very caring person. And I think he will be the best president we'll ever see. I think the people of Trinidad and Tobago will benefit from the fact that he has a wide range of international experience in terms of human rights, for example, and also that he is a very honest person, and he will not be, I believe, a political president. I think he'll be a president for everyone, for every party, and he's not the kind of person, I believe, who would align himself to any kind of politics.
You know, as a father, I would go to the training school where his kids train for football in Federation Park there, and I would see him there. He would come to pick up his kids. He would be part and parcel of their activities, and I'm sure all other activities, you know, he would be involved.
Now that he is president, you hope that he can deliver. You know, it's going to be a tough job, right? You hope that he is capable of delivering. You know what I mean? What the people want, right? I'm hoping that and praying that for him, you know. But I trust that he will do his best.
Personally, I don't think that the country could have made a better choice, that the college, the Electoral College could have made a better choice. He's a solid man, he's an intelligent man, he's a humble man, and I think the best way is to describe him is the way I heard Mr. Barrett describe him, his crewmate. He's a gentleman.
You can't get no better person than Tony. His integrity, his goodness, his love, his caring for people. I don't think it have nobody in Trinidad like him.